All right, it's one after. So, Chad, you ready to get started, man?
I am.
All
Welcome,
right.
everybody. Chris, do you want to introduce yourself first, and I'll go
Yeah,
after?
sure. Yeah. So, thanks everybody joining. This is our Intune and 30 webinar series. We're doing three sessions. We did first session last week. We did modern device management with Jason, one of our cloud solution engineers. He joined me last week. And if you want to listen to that, you can go out to our website, anm.com/resource-library, and you can see the previous sessions out there. Today's session two, we've got Zero Trust in Action for Zero Two. And next week we'll be doing session three. We'll be diving into device and app management. So it'll be fun. Make sure that you join next week as well. But today we got Chad Olsen. He's one of our senior data center architects here at A&M that's going to join me today. And he specializes in helping people adopt zero trust framework. So Chad, I will let you kind of introduce yourself a little bit and we can dive right into it.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Yes, my name is Chad Olson. I'm based here out of Albuquerque. I've been with A&M about 6.5 years. And to Chris's point, ZTA obviously is a very broad topic, and I take it from a kind of at least a data center perspective and helping folks adopt the framework, right, and move through that roadmap. So I will get started. So what is ZTA? ZTA is a concept. For those who have attended our workshops or kind of been involved in that or are curious about it, the problem is we have what's called a Pop-Tart model. Traditional security always assumed that a trust but verify at the perimeter side, users and devices had broad access, and you kind of enforce those controls and policies there. Today's threats actually are remote work. Cloud services also expand that attack surface, right? If you have SaaS applications, on-prem applications, cloud-based applications, public and private. And identity theft, phishing, and credential abuse bypass a lot of those perimeter defenses, meaning once you're inside, you're in that nice, soft, gooey center. You're no longer on the outside of the Pop-Tart. So what does that mean? The perimeter is no longer enough as a sole enforcement point for security. So what does zero trust actually mean? Its core principle is never trust, always verify. Every single access request is continuously validated against the identity, the user of the device, and the service that's being accessed, the context, which is also key here, the location, the time, and the device health, right? Meaning, is it fully patched? Does it have endpoint security on it? Is that endpoint security updated in terms of malware definition, so on and so forth? And also a policy. So least privilege and compliance requirements, meaning that that user, once you validate its identity and context, only has access to the things to do their job, right? So the enforcement happens everywhere and not just at the firewall. So it also happens internally. So every time an access request is made, there is a continuous validation of identity, context, and policy. Okay. So zero trust basically falls into 5 pillars. There's identity, which is includes strong authentication, MFA, role-based access. These are things that are common. A lot of folks are adopting these going forward. The device, ensure the endpoints are healthy, patched, and managed, right? We just went through that. The network, which folks that are using segmentation or mini segmentation that are adopting microsegmentation, that's also important here, not just in terms of like, say, ACI or things of that nature, but actually agent-based microsegmentation, meaning that that device only has access to the resources it needs, as well as servers, right? Applications and data is the 4th pillar. You want to protect those sensitive workloads and enforce least privilege on those, and visibility and analytics. And so you want to constantly be monitoring for anomalies or entropy within the environment to see if the bits have changed, to see if there's some IOCs in the environment, these indicators of compromise. I do want to emphasize that ZTA is not a product. You cannot just go buy ZTA, right? It is a framework made up of these pillars, and it is a journey. It's something you want to endeavor for and something you want to try to, get easy wins, things that you can do as you move towards this journey to increase your security posture. And with that, I will pass it off to Chris to talk about PKI and endpoint management and how ZTA falls into that.
Yeah, so like he said, zero trust is nothing that you purchase, right? You can purchase products that help you get to it. And in that, we're talking about Intune, since this is our Intune webinar. How can you obtain the zero trust principles with things that Intune offers you. And that's what we kind of wanted to go into today. So Chad did a very good job of kind of explaining what zero trust is. And the three main pillars are the ones that we have on the screen. And I kind of put a couple on there that Intune can help with each one. I'm going to figure we would kind of touch on each of these as we're going through this webinar. So verify explicitly, you've got remote help when you're needing assistance, or you got cloud PKI, which we'll dive into. When you're talking about use least privilege access, which is I feel like it's one of the biggest ones that are out there. Not that one's more important than the other. I just feel strongly about this one. But you've got tunnel for MAM, and then you've also got endpoint privilege management, which we have a demo that we're going to show you through. And then assume breach. So you just always need to make sure that, hey, something's going to happen, and how can we get notified if it happens, and how can we take remediation when and if it happens. And we can go over, and specifically we'll go over enterprise application management. So these are just some of the tools that Intune can do. And there's other products out there like Chad was talking about. There's other Microsoft products. There's other third-party products that can do this. But since this is an Intune focused one, we figured we would help show how you can obtain zero trust kind of framework and architecture with Intune. So let's dive into cloud PKI. What is cloud PKI? What is it, and how can it help? PKI is certificate-based authentication. And so you can figure out ways that you can have application or users rather authenticate in without credentialing because they have a certificate on their device. And typically in a on-prem traditional world, you had to have all this certificate infrastructure. You had to have PKI servers, you had to have the issue, you had to have the root, you had to have somebody that manage it because Microsoft didn't make it easy to do on-prem PKIs. With Intune, they took a lot of that away. You can do it a lot of different ways, actually, and it supports Windows, Mac OS, iOS, and Android. So pretty much the gamut. If you want something on your network, you can do cloud PKI. And again, that's going to make sure that if they don't have the certificate on the device, then they're not going to be in, right? That's the biggest thing. So you want to make sure that you are verifying explicitly. And how can you do that? Well, you put a certificate out on the device and have that certificate authenticate for you by yourself. So that means nobody can steal your credentials because it's installed on the device. And you can do it in a couple ways. You can do BYOD, or BYOCA, bring your own certificate authority. Had to think about that one. So you can bring your own certificate authority, meaning you can have it on-prem or in the cloud somewhere, and then you can have that anchor to what Intune can do, or you can create everything in Intune as well, depending on what you're needing it for. And it can help you in the journey of making that verify explicit. It helps, and it's a lot easier. So if you already have some of the infrastructure on-prem, like use it, right? Because they're a bear to stand up, but once you get them working, they're great. So let's use them. Let's use that SCEP that we already have on-prem, and let's bring our own certificate into Intune, and then you can issue the certificates for the devices via Intune. So getting them to the actual endpoints is a lot easier once the machines are enrolled. So, I mean, Chad, have you dealt much with people using PKI in the on-prem world and how it easily transitions into a cloud world?
I have not had any yet. I feel like the adoption has been a little slower than we'd like, only because I think there's a lot of ambiguity around how that's executed, Chris. So I'm glad you're going through this and kind of showing how easy it really is to do now that Intune is, kind of made it a lot easier to adopt it. So yeah.
Good point on that. So when it first came out about 2-ish years ago, when cloud PKI first came out, it was I'm going to use the word immature, right? You could do only portions of it. And like we talked about last session too, Microsoft has made a big jump to make sure that you can have one platform to manage everything, being Intune to manage all your devices and your applications. And so they well rounded out what you could do with cloud PKI. So people can actually adopt it now. So it is a very mature model, and we've actually deployed it for a handful of customers so far. And we've had great success doing it on the Windows side and the mobile side as well. So there's a lot of things. Like I said, if you already have that SCEP profile already built on-prem, you don't need to abandon it. You can use it. And that just makes that setup even that much easier. So there's a lot of things that you can take what you have in place and start that journey up to the cloud. So if you need to make sure that it's special key size or algorithms, they put all that in there, and it's pretty simple to deploy. If you want to go through a demo of it, we're not going to do the demo on Cloud PKI today specifically, but if you want to see a demo of it, I do have some that we can go through on a one-on-one call. So make sure you reach out to your account manager or contact info at the end that we'll share with you if you want to go see how that can work for you. Moving on to the next level, endpoint privilege management. This is the least privilege access type pillar. So how can you do it? If you want to have applications or somebody needs to try out a new application, IT isn't just going to give somebody admin access on the box to install an application because they're trying to protect their infrastructure, which starts with the OS. Because if you look at how the attack surface plane is for bad actors today, it's still the endpoint. That's where the easiest one is because of users, and it's not a detriment to users. It's just they feel like that's the easiest point of entry because you have your IT admins and your professionals that are very wary of all the attacks that are out there. But the people that are just everyday users, oh, that link looks legit. Let me try to get in that way. And so now if they have admin access on their box and the bad actor has now gotten into their machine, that's why you don't want to do it because it's still the easiest plane to get into is the users. But endpoint privilege management actually takes it a step further where if somebody needs an application, admins can give the individuals temporary access to install something, and it's only for that specific application. So they're not giving them admin access on that box on the machine that they're on. They're giving them access to install that one application. And Windows, along with Intune, actually can do that. And I've got a demo that shows you on how to do that. So let's go into that demo real quick. Oops, let's go back. There it goes. So the key point about that is you no longer had to give admin access to the box, right? It was just for that one application, and it was done pretty seamlessly. She didn't really have to pick up the phone and call anybody in IT. Like Adele had to just try to open the application and give the justification. And then if IT felt like it was good, like they did in the video in the demo there, they hit approve. But if it's something they didn't want to do, they could easily hit deny and it just kills it right there. So you get a lot more control on how you can try out new applications if somebody's needing something, or if it's just a one-off because maybe it's something that can help them finish a one-off task. They don't need to go through creating an application policy to publish the application to push it out to the machines. It can just be done on a one-off. So this is how you can do the least privilege access and still get your job done. Was there an extra step? Sure, but you get that further protection, which I know a lot of IT admins and a lot of IT security people that manage the infrastructure, that's what they're going to want. So, I mean, Chad, I know when we were talking about this, I told you about this demo. I know you watched through the demo. You got anything you want to add on this?
I don't. I would say that this eliminates a lot of kind of the cumbersome old school GPO type things where you would keep people from doing this and kind of the sprawl that you would have within a GPO structure and managing that. It really, really simplifies that. So that's what I would add. Yeah.
Okay. And so moving on to assume breach. So you always want to make sure, and Intune can handle that with a couple of different ways. I wanted to kind of touch on enterprise application management, and it looks like we are going to have time to kind of go through a little demo on this one as well. But enterprise application management allows streamlined application management of the actual applications that they want to push out inside their environment. So it's not like you need to worry about different. I always use the PDF example. So there's tons and tons and tons of PDF readers out there and writers out there today, but you only want to have one that's approved for the organization. And that's the one that you want to do. So you can make sure that this enterprise-wide accepted application that we want to use for PDF purposes is the one that we do. So if somebody tries to install something else, then it's not going to be allowed, and because you have to do the one that's required by the one that IT has. And then IT can also stay current with the updates. So anytime there's a new update, they can use the Intune application blade to actually push out the updates to make sure everybody across the board is on the same version, because you get the version incompatibilities a lot too, especially with PDFs. I mean, you can have, several different, because Adobe is as an example, and I'm not picking on them, it's just an example, but there's tons of updates that they push out there. And if you have Intune enrolled, and you have kind of your application inventory put out there, you'll probably see multiple versions of Adobe in your application list. And you can help streamline that by making sure everybody's on the same one. So let's kind of dive into the little demo that we have on that. So now we've seen the three main pillars, the assume breach, which we just talked about, least privilege access, and verify explicitly. We've shown you ways on how some of the features inside Intune can help you get towards that zero trust framework, that zero trust architecture, getting you on that journey. These are just scratching the surface of some of the things that Intune can do. There's a lot more ways inside Intune, especially when you start stacking on top of the other products that you get inside the M365 suite, on how you can take everything to the next level. So if you're ready to start expanding ZTA with Intune and other portions of Microsoft 365, please let us know. Reach out to your account manager. You can message my team at microsoft@anm.com. We can help you go through in deeper demos that we went through today. We can show you a deeper look into any of these on how other features inside the platform can help you. If you've made your decision and you want to start moving forward, reach out. We can help you plan your deployment. We can help you with industry preferred practices. We can help you with some of the lessons learned that we've had from other organizations that done it. Or if you already have Intune set up and you just want a second set of eyes, we've got plenty of our engineers that can come in and evaluate your environment today to make sure that you are set up to those preferred practice methods, to make sure for your industry, if there's some specific compliant rules that you need to adhere to, we can make sure that you're doing things as best as you can with the tools that you have. If you're looking for next week's session, Harpreet and I are going to be going into app and endpoint management. It's going to be a great session. Scan that QR code. It'll take you to the registration page that you can go ahead and get registered for next week. And like I said, Harpreet and I are Harpreet's a cloud solution architect that I work with, and we're gonna dive in a little deep on that. So I'm looking forward to that. Chad, you want to close out anything on ZTA specifically, or how Intune can help?
I did have a question, yes, around specifically, and I know we're wrapping up, but for those customers that have adopted an SSE solution, right, for Secure Services Edge, would PKI be used as a supplement to that sort of access posture, or are they mutually exclusive? How would that be used if folks want to, like, they already have kind of the gateway set up in their environment and they got that secure tunnel set up? Can they use PKI in addition to that method for the access?
Yeah, you can. It can be in addition to, or it can be in conjunction with. So your authentication for using the SSE platform if you're using the Microsoft native one, because there is a Microsoft native one. I know you're probably talking about some third parties. Some third parties it can be on top of, or if you're doing the full integration inside the stack, you can use it as part of that authentication for the SSE. So it's a little bit of both, depending on which tools you want to use.
Perfect. Yeah. No, the only other thing I'll add on the ZTA is at A&M here, we do a workshop. It's usually a 4-hour workshop on either side of a lunch, where we do a lot of education and whiteboarding and things of that nature and go through this. So if you guys are interested in that, please reach out to us as well. So.
Everybody, I really appreciate your time today and joining us. Like I said, if you want to join next week's session, Harpreet and I are going to dive into it. We're trying to be respectful of everybody's time, keeping these under 30 minutes because everybody's busy. Chad, I appreciate you joining me today. It's been a lot of fun. I know we've done a few of these in the past in person, and we have a lot of fun doing those as well. So thanks for sharing your knowledge on ZTA and everything that you're doing here for us as well. So I appreciate your time. Everybody, thanks for joining. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Chris.